All right, so check it. Cyhi just dropped a new record called "Good Old Days," man. The first single off Story of Mr. EGOT. I'm gonna get right to it because he said a lot in this record, man. You can tell he starts at the very beginning, like his street ties, his street beginnings. Um, then it leads into him, basically working on Watch the Throne, which he spoke about a few times. I didn't know he was supposed to be on that. I went back and looked at the records. I could 1,000,000% hear him on Otis, even though I know that's a very nice back and forth for Kanye. Didn't really need a feature, but he'd be dope on that beat. I could hear him on Gotta Have It, and I could hear him on Murder to Excellence. Those are the three records that I could possibly hear him on. It would have been dope to hear him on that. Didn't know he was supposed to be on Detroit too. Which he leads into his feelings towards Big Sean. It kind of seemed murky. It kind of seemed like he cool. Like we rock with each other a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like he cool. You know what I'm saying? Gets into Travis. Now this is where it gets sticky. He wrote on Sicko Mode. He's asking for the swap from Travis, and apparently he ain't getting it, that's funny money right there to me. Drake disses Kanye that bust a riot and all this. I'm right down the street, which also he kind of alludes to on Can't Tell a Joke on Scorpion. But Drake disses Kanye on Sicko Mode. Cyhi ain't like it, which is definitely understandable. Travis play in the middle. Push also spoke about it, which he gets into next. Oh no, he gets to Cuddy right after that. I didn't know Cyhi wrote that much on that Kids See Ghosts. He wrote Fire, Fourth Dimension, Reborn, and Cuddy's Montage. 4 to 7 records on that album. The Pete Davidson line was tough on that, man. Um, he's rapping on here. Cyhi it's super punch heavy, but he's also explaining the story, which I really rock with. Him and Pusha's relationship being so solid because of their street ties, and even the hanger, he didn't like bending his hangers because that's how he used to cook a brick if you didn't have a fork. Cyhi spitting on him, right? The line that really got me was the George Washington Carver and Booker T relationship, likening Pusha T to being George Washington Carver and likening Kanye to Booker T. Washington. Now, although they had different opinions and philosophies, like, political views, they still agreed on the most important thing amongst them, and that would have been the music, and that would have been their, outlook on being black activists and fighting for the cause. That Kaepernick line right afterwards being tough. I remember on the Joe Budden podcast, Pusha alluded to basically fighting for certain artists on good besides Kanye. Where on I'm on one, Push felt like that this here boy and all that boy talk, he ain't like none of that. So, maybe playing a part in, feuding to the fire that, would end up Drake and Pusha colliding in 2018 where he tore his head off with Story Iodine. Then we get to Virgil. Now this one is a little tricky because Virgil is no longer here. Rest in peace to Virgil. Cyhi alludes to the corporations kind of getting in between the middle of them. So in 2013, Kanye stopped working with Nike, right? 2015, they signed Don C. Beautiful shoe, by the way, the Don C. Jordan 2. Amazing, based on the Chanel. And then we all know what Virgil did once he got with Nike with 2016, like through the moon. But that line where he says, Nike taking players out of circle, kind of sound like Nike, according to Cyhi, was talent poaching. Poaching talent, and it sounds like they kind of pitted them against each other, and it sounds extremely unnecessary. Then the mic check with the Mike being a performance athlete and getting royalties from the sneakers. So he was saying, the mic check with him getting his royalties, which they didn't want to give Kanye, even though he had probably the hottest Nike collab we probably ever seen. Like, let's be for real. That Red October, I don't think no other artist could beat that sneaker, right? And then the line following that being the Mike Jack, tried to get the Mike Jack check with Kanye going back and forth with Universal. We seen him go back and forth with, Def Jam. He tell Def Jam to give me 50 million, I'ma quit. Also makes me look at, Kanye not going against Drake, but going against Universal with the 7 albums, right? Because hey, I'm gonna outsell your number one artist. I'm gonna go number one for 7 weeks straight. I'm gonna drop right before your number one artist, and y'all smother Drake release date. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It kind of make me look at it a little way, right? Then Cyhi gets into, Gina asks, I know you ain't like, what happened with Jay. Shout out Gina View. She always, she cares about rap, man. Like, I love that. I love that she, prioritizes hip hop and MC shit. Like, I rock with it, right? Although he doesn't agree with how Kanye handled Jay, he does speak to how, people treated Kanye early. And when you hear Kanye speak, he said, Dame believed from the very beginning. Took Jay a minute, but he said he sided with Jay because, he said on the Breakfast Club, I needed to learn how to move in a room full of vultures. Like, when Kanye might, in his ideology, be right, but his delivery being off-putting. And Jay being so amazing at business, he needed to learn the business acumen from Jay. So that's why he sided with, like, him signing with Dame, 2 hotheads. I agree, Kanye probably wouldn't have worked. No lie. And then, he also speaks to Kanye's influence and the college kids kind of line, kind of not only reminding us that, J. Cole dropping False Prophets, which I don't understand if Kanye opened that whole lane up. I really don't know what Cole and Kanye static come from, or why Cole even felt the reason to speak on Kanye and False Prophets, knowing that whole lane of being just a regular guy was opened up from Kanye. And that line also doesn't just apply to J. Cole, it also applies to Drake. Drake being a, corny rapper and being, again, a regular dude. Why are you dissing Kanye? But they got their own reasons. Oh, I take that back. I think they got their own reasons. You know what I'm saying? Overall, man, the record is dope. I can't wait for Cyhi's new album coming out, The Story of the EGOT. Still picking apart the lyrics, but it's a lot that, to get into. It's a lot. Cyhi, one of the best. Looking forward to another single, man. Let me know what y'all think out there.